On PM Express tonight, something that we keep coming back to, but in the last few days, it's turned into one that could potentially become a crisis because of the threat of a shutdown by many of those who produce power that brings electricity to your home. And so the state of power supply in Ghana, the cash problem, is one of the key things that we're going to talk about tonight. Where are we as of tonight? There's a lot happening in the last 24 hours as far as the power sector is concerned that we need to talk about. And that is one of the things we're going to look at. And you see here, the recent power cuts in parts of the country that you may be experiencing and has led to fears that we may be returning to doom. So we know that is one of the most controversial words you can use. But what are the realities as far as that is concerned? And this is happening especially as the country's power producers, particularly the IPPs, the independent power producers, say they simply cannot produce enough to meet the peak demand of 2,000 and 2,700 megawatts as far as you're concerned. Now, the key thing that we know has also played out. The figures that we've obtained show that we are not producing as much enough. There's the shortfall is in the region of some 1,000 megawatts. This is a graph that I want to show you quickly that illustrates the point for you. Here it is. This is as of yesterday we got from the power producers themselves. And you can see this particular column here where it's the shortfall. The shortfall is the difference between what we are actually producing and the capacity that we have. So if you see sun power, 350 megawatts, that is the capacity. It's down. And that's why you see the negative. So these two are down currently. We see car power as well with this capacity of 470. It's, as of yesterday, was just producing, giving us 16 megawatts. A huge shortfall of 453 megawatts that you see there. Ameri, we all know Ameri power plant, 250 megawatts, producing 195. There's a shortfall of 54 megawatts. AXA capacity is 360, producing 450, a shortfall of a significant 214. TICO, same. Almost all the plants are not producing at full capacity. The only one producing at full capacity almost is Asogli. Bui is virtually down as well. Kosomo is not giving us as much. And this is where the picture becomes a bit murkier. And why is this though? We've heard the power producers say that the chamber of IPP say the problem is simply because lack of cash. They haven't been paid, they don't have the money, and they simply cannot buy fuel to power the plants. It's an issue. Some power companies remain in heavy debt as well and have threatened that if you don't pay us the money, we simply have to shut down. We also know that the chamber says ECG owes them, this is the figure, $700 million, huge amount of money. We are hearing today, there was a press conference that was called off. I'll tell you more about it today. Government is now certain the monies are available for the IPPs. The chamber says attempts to retrieve these debts have met with the stonewalling from ECG. We'll tell you the difference between ECG and PDS as it relates to the debt shortly. So the key question, what is the true state of the power supply in this country? That is the conversation we are having tonight with people who understand this. Stay with us here on PM Express. If you are in darkness tonight, anywhere in the country, you'll probably want to listen to know why what is happening is happening. We might have the press conference back on tomorrow. That may give us more. But we know a lot tonight that we'll share with you. Stay with us. My guest in the studio, Benjamin Boakye, is Executive Director of ACEP, the Africa Center for Energy Policy. Also, the ranking member on Mines and Energy Committee in Parliament, Adam Mutawakilu, is my guest. We'll also be joined on Skype by the CEO of Chamber of IPP and Bulk Consumers, Mr. Kwabla Petokbo, who will join us on Skype very shortly. Tonight, there was a press conference that had been scheduled to take place at the ECG. Because, as you know, the IPPs claim that they are owed. In fact, the IPPs, the chamber, and there's some controversy about that. The chamber claimed that the PDS owed them money, $700 million, and that if they are not paid, they'll shut down in 1 week. Well, PDS came out and says, we don't owe you any money. We don't have any contract with you. It's ECG who does. And so ECG called a press conference today. They were expected to address it. I was there myself. but was called off very, very last minute after almost several hours of waiting for it to happen, because we are told that the boss of the ECG had been called into another meeting on the same matter to try and figure out how to resolve this. But the officials at ECG had told us also that apparently the PDS, since they took over in March, had not paid up what they've collected to ECG. ECG is now a bulk trader, and they just got the funds from PDS yesterday, and that the IPPs should be settled as of yesterday. We don't know whether that has happened yet, but clearly there's a challenge with funds, with cash, that has become a problem, and this is not the first time it's happened. But Ben, how strange is it for, and I think we need to clarify this thing about the chamber of IPPs, because this is the first time we heard of this chamber. You've been in the industry for a long time. Have you encountered a chamber, this chamber before?
Yes, I think I got an invitation to attend the inauguration sometime last month or so. I don't remember exactly. So it was actually inaugurated recently, but I don't know to what extent it reflects the opinion of the industry or the IPPs. Because I've been checking some of the statements that were put out by the chamber to the effect that the IPPs were threatening to go on strike.
To shut down.
To shut down 8 days or so. And it seems inaccurate. Because when I heard that, I was even surprised that the IPPs would really want to do that. Because they struggle to communicate on their interface even with government when you push them. So I was shocked that all of a sudden they pop up to say that they're going to, shut down for non-payment. Of course, I mean, if there are debts to be settled, government and the agencies will have to look at it and settle it, which is obvious. It's not a new story. We keep talking about the energy sector debt and debt accumulation in the sector. So we know.
Don't you get a sense that what we're dealing with now is a bit different in terms of the crisis level? People suggest that where we are now is steeper than where we've been before. Do you agree with that, knowing what you know in the space?
Yes, but if you check the nature of the contracts that we have with the IPPs, they generate energy. We give them fuel to generate the electricity. So if government is not able, for example, to give you the fuel and you do not generate, you can sit idle and still get paid. So on what basis would you go on, would you shut down? But if you declare shutdown, you don't get paid.
Okay.
You understand? So it wouldn't make sense for that businessman to say that I want to shut down. They will look for any other means to get their money back.
Except if you probably want to cause government pain, because if you shut down, that has serious implications for government, because that leads to doomsday, and government doesn't want to hear doomsday because of its political pain.
You see, government is government. Government is powerful, and businesses don't want to disrupt. I mean, especially when the conversation is still ongoing, how to restructure the debt, how to pay them. And there's always conversation around that. So we could definitely get to that point when it has been stretched too much. But if we track the conversation that has been happening, it was too early in the day for anybody to say that they are not going to generate because somebody...
What's your understanding of what really is happening now? What's your understanding of the power situation currently?
I mean, the fact that we have excess capacity is known. The generators are available. But we need fuel to power the plants. And the supply of the fuel has not been as smooth as it should.
Why?
It comes back to the same, probably financing and the contracting issue, how the fuel is sourced and all of that. So those are the fundamentals that ought to be addressed. And if you take up the fuel supply in a contract, you have to make sure that at all times there is fuel for the power plants to generate. And my understanding is that the fuel ran out, and therefore the plants cannot generate. And I saw the numbers you put out, and they are accurate. If you have car power, have capacity about 470 megawatts, and they're only doing 16, that is way below their capacity. And what they are trying to do is to spread the little fuel they have into a longer tenor so that they don't use all and run it out. So if they had enough fuel, they will be able to ramp up. But I'm told that fuel is going to be delivered. But the critical question is, for how long are we going to be enduring this with intermittent shortages? So that is why I was saying that there is a need for us to have a critical look at the power sector to ensure, because you see, what is even frustrating is the fact that if these generators don't generate,
you still pay them.
You still pay them.
Yeah.
So you are better off ensuring that there's always fuel, so that you can sell the power and generate some revenue, even if it is short of what is expected, rather than they idling around and still getting paid. It's not in the interest of Ghana. It's not in the interest of the economy. I mean, once you inject that kind of intermittency into the system, that also sends signals to the investor. Because if I want to operate my plant and I'm not sure that the power will be stable, they are nervous about starting the process, because some of the process, when you start and you get power cut, it takes a long time to come back the process. So it doesn't send good signal to industry, and therefore we have to do what we can to ensure that the power is stable. And because there's so many ways you can look at it. Once you start injecting this intermittency into the system, you disrupt the entire economy. Because somebody may decide to wait for 1 month before they start production, so that they know that they can be fluid. So in between that space, you are creating more excess capacity, because people are not ready to come on, because they are not sure what you're going to do next. Yeah. And before they come back on, you bring fuel for 1 month, and then you run out. And then you inject the same cycle again into the system. It doesn't help for the economy. It doesn't help.
Mr. Mutokilu, where we are currently, many say this is not a place we haven't been before.
Yeah, thank you very much. And good evening to our cherished viewers, and more especially the good people of Damongo constituency. Yeah, before I go to that, I want to thank the chamber for now being the mouthpiece of the IPPs, and that they've been silent for quite some time, and now they have somebody who speaks on their behalf. Now, the first and foremost, this one is different completely, because in those days, whatever may, they will get some little payment. They go for facilities, loans, to put up these facilities. And they are expected to make some commitment every month, probably, or every 2 weeks, or it could be a period. So at least if they get something back small.
For loans for what?
To put up the plant.
Okay.
Yeah. Before you put up the plant, you go for a facility, which is for a loan to put up the plant. And there's an agreement that you'll be making some in payment periodically, monthly. So at least if an IPP gets some chunk from the PDS or ECG, as they say, maybe when we come to that, I'll explain, they are able to make some payment. But whereby a situation for 3 months, nothing has been paid.
But is that unprecedented?
It's unprecedented. 3 months, nothing. Some payment normally is made.
But isn't this happening under special circumstances? And let's explain that. Because PDS came into the picture in March, so the arrangement had changed. This is the first time we are getting this arrangement where ECG now is a bulk trader and buys bulk and gives to PDS. And so that is a special circumstance.
No.
It's a one-off problem.
No.
Okay.
Now, I wanted to explain something. Let me explain it and quickly.
Yes.
Now, whereby you are not being given anything. So that means at the end of the month, you have nothing to pay your lenders. However, the interest as a result of delayed payment will be charged by the lender. However, you can't pass it to the government to pay. So it calls for worry. And that is why the panicking and then the issue of this statement by the chamber. Now, the arrangement is this. ECG has a power purchasing agreement with the IPPs. So when the concession came to Parliament, the bulk supply agreement was there. That is an agreement between ECG and PDS, where ECG buy from the IPPs, because already it has an agreement with the IPPs in the form of power purchasing agreement. Sell it to PDS. PDS is expected to pay back to ECG, the ECG pay back to IPPs. But my checks indicate that PDS wasn't paying ECG.
Because you're now have to sell.
Because I provide you the power.
Yes.
You have sold it. Pay me to pay my the IPPs. If you don't pay me, how do I pay them? And that is where the problem is. Because over the period, they've not been paying ECG, and as a result, ECG cannot pay the IPPs. So legal terms, the statement issued by PDS is correct that they don't have any contractual relation with the IPPs. But in terms of flow of resources, if PDS do not pay ECG, ECG cannot pay the IPPs. And for some time, now PDS is not paying ECG. And that is where the problem is.
True?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, but that's a point I'm making about it being a special circumstance. Because this has never happened before where we have... No. This is... I'm not saying the circumstance of the payment, but the circumstance where we now have two different entities almost in the distribution space. ECG now is doing bulk and is giving somebody. That has never happened.
It is not ECG is not distributing.
No, it's not.
It's a wholesale.
Yes, but I'm saying, you get my point. I'm making.
It has not.
This is the first time we're having a PDS.
That will not affect. Do PDS collect money from customers?
It's not what they're supposed to distribute and collect.
No, they distribute.
And collect.
They
money.
collect.
Yes.
They know how much they purchase from ECG.
Yes.
What is the difficulty in them paying back?
What do you think?
So there's nothing special.
I think if I can address that.
There's nothing special.
I think it was a contractual problem. The existing arrangement before PDS came in was for ECG to periodically, I think bi-weekly, every 2 weeks, they will make payments, some payments to the power generators. So we signed a contract with PDS that said they should now do it monthly. You know, and if you look at the quantum of fuel that is required, car power, for example, consumes about 4,200 tons of HFO every 4 days. So in a month, almost 100,000. So the quantum of fuel required is so high that you can't keep the money for a whole month before you remit. You know, so that is the arrangement PDS want to comply with because that's what they've signed up to. But I understand that that has been resolved to revert to the original bi-weekly payment.
So where PDS will pay to ECG payment, yes, every 2 weeks
to go.
But that is not.
See,
let's separate these 3 months. You know, even if it is monthly.
March. It started in March.
April, May, June, July.
No, but I'm
so
not sure.
If they
I'm
say
not
3
sure
months, I'm saying if 3 months they have not been paid per the statement, and that is, you are not sure. Do you know how?
Take it from the statement didn't come from the IPPs.
No, nobody has counted it, and my checks indicate. That's why I said I do check that ECG wasn't getting payment to be paid to IPPs. We follow up. We are both in the power sector. We do our cross-checking. And therefore, even if it is monthly payment, it shouldn't be 3 months. So we expect that every month something is paid. Whatever they get small, then they go and pay. But this government, NDC initiated this cash waterfall system.
What is that?
Whereby when money is received proportionally, everybody gets proportional share of what is in the kitty.
That was an idea that was mooted, but it wasn't implemented.
Yes, that is what I'm coming in. As we speak, it has not been implemented.
But you didn't implement it either.
Yes, we mooted. They came and continued.
No, but the way you're pitching it.
No,
it was your idea that you didn't implement.
We were developing it, whereby we do a wash cutter for it. Didn't.
Yes, I mean.
And in 2007, let me say,
all of them are
in 2017 State of the Nation address, in 2017, the president said clearly they will move to the cash waterfall system. 2017, February, we are in where? We are in 2019. Do you get my point? And that has not been implemented. So one person can decide to take 100%. Because the implementation, it has not been implemented. But you realize under the NDC, irrespective of what, every power producer will get something small. The distributor, the transmitter will get something small. And then they will also get something small. Even if it is not proportional, they get something small. But in this case, for 3 consecutive months, no payment has been made. It's a cause for worry.
Okay.
Now, when you come to the fuel...
As of just information, as of yesterday, we spoke to the ECG's, well, I did, spoke to the ECG's man in charge of bulk trading, and he says that as of yesterday, by close of day, PDS has made good its debt to them, and that they will be sending money to the IPPs as of yesterday. And we're working the phone line to try and get on Skype the chamber spokesperson to get a clarity on whether they've received the money. You doubt this?
No, I'm not doubting.
Okay.
I just want to thank the chamber for being the mouthpiece. So if the chamber hadn't published anything, this money would have been seated in PDS.
You can't tell us that for sure.
No, that is why, first of all, I thank the chamber for what they have done.
You're not suggesting that before the chambers nothing was being done to pay the amount.
No, it has fast-tracked it. It has fast-tracked it. And therefore, that credit should not go to government or PDS. It should go to the chamber. This government, unless you put pressure, they feel it is okay. And when we started crying these liquidity challenges in the power sector since 2018, they told us that it was technical. Oh, it is technical. We give you 5 days and it will be resolved. And today, it is glaring.
Okay. As I said, I want to go to the chamber. Let's get a clarity on the situation. I'll come back to you, Ben, because there are real fundamental issues that we need to deal with. As we are talking about it today because of the alarming nature of the statement made by the way even this press conference was called and called off, but might be coming off tomorrow. We might learn more about what they're doing. It appears there's something lurking in the background that might surface, and people are experiencing blackouts here and there. And so when these things happen, you need to confront it. Let's speak to the CEO of the chamber. Hello, Mr. Ametokbo. Thank you for joining us here on PM Express.
Hello, good evening, my brother. How are you?
I'm fantastic, sir.
Yeah, apologies for not joining you earlier.
No problem. With me in the studio is Ben Boakye and the minority spokesperson on energy, Mutawakil. Okay. Let me ask you, have you received any payments to cover the 700 million that you said the IPPs were owed?
As at 6 p.m. this evening, I had some information about some members being paid.
Okay.
Yeah.
As of 6 p.m. tonight?
Yes, please.
Okay. How much of the 700 million has been paid?
That detail is not yet known.
But it's not yet known. But is the amount paid enough to get you in a position where you can start buying fuel to power your plants?
Sincerely, no.
They don't buy fuel.
Okay, I mean, well, hold on for me, because yesterday or 2 days ago when I spoke to you, and I asked that question because you make the point about the problem being cash to buy fuel, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Ben Boakye has a comment on that, Ben.
Yes, so I was just saying that the IPPs don't buy the fuel. The fuel is procured for them.
Yeah.
So if you don't have fuel, you only ask for government to supply the fuel. So what is paid to them is their capacity charges and the variable charges that are in the contract. So that's why I was saying that we should separate the discussion to see what is the cost of the current power curtailment that we are seeing around, and then address the debt situation separately, because that is a different matter altogether. So you have fuel supply, and you have debt. So
when you say there's debt as in what they have produced and haven't been paid for.
For every power producer, you have to pay them what we call capacity charges and variable charges, maintenance and all of that.
That is what hasn't been paid. That is what is in arrears. That's what the debt is.
Yeah. But beyond that, even if you pay them all of that money, you still have to give them fuel.
Yeah.
Okay. That is government's responsibility to give them fuel.
Exactly. Okay. So what the situation is currently is that they don't have enough fuel. They haven't been given enough fuel.
Government hasn't supplied enough fuel.
Absolutely, to be able to produce the power. I think that is where the problem really is at this point. Beyond the debt, which has been recurrent, we do know that the energy sector debt.
Yes.
I side with. Yes. Why? That is why he indicated that even if they don't produce, they will be paid. Yes. If they take the responsibility for the procuring the fuel, and they are not able to procure, they can't transfer the liability on government.
Yeah, but even they can't do that because government saying the government give them the fuel.
Yes, because government guarantee supply of fuel, and the plant is ready to take to produce, but you are not able to supply the fuel.
Which is not our fault, then you have to pay
Then
us.
you pay us.
Yeah. Okay.
But once the producer takes the responsibility...
For an IPP to say, I'm not going to generate power. If you don't even have fuel in the first place, so who are you threatening?
But the point
when you can be paid for even sitting idle.
No. When it can be paid sitting idle periodically, and they can service their lenders within that period. But whereby it is consistent for 3 months, the lender will put pressure on them.
Hold on, let me break.
So that is why I'm bringing the difference.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Mr. Metogo, so that is the explanation. So why is the IPP or the chamber claiming that it's an issue of cash and you can't get fuel when the fuel is not your responsibility by government?
Thank you very much. Let me first make this thing clear that this issue we are talking about is too sensitive to be politicized. When or who is responsible or who has been providing fuel for the IPP? Is there any justification for that? And when has that started?
So sorry, the question you asked, isn't government supplying you the fuel? Isn't that the arrangement? Isn't that what the contract says?
Which of the IPPs has government signed an agreement to supply fuel for? And when has the IPP started doing things like that?
Are you saying IPPs have been buying their own fuel?
Yes, exactly the case.
No. Which IPP are you representing?
Some of them have a special arrangement with government in a way, but you can't just conclude that the IPPs depend on government or whoever to supply fuel.
Mr. Metogo, there's a question here I need to ask you. And Ben asked it, but maybe you didn't hear. But I need to ask you, which specific IPPs do you represent?
I'm representing a chamber, not any IPP.
Okay, no, the chamber represents IPPs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so which of the IPPs does the chamber represent?
The chamber represents Car Power, AXA, Asogli, BXC, Senate. I think those operational. Let me put it that
okay,
way.
Let's take Car Power. We all know Car Power is being moved to the Western Enclave so that they will be closer to the gas. That is government responsibility because of the gas. That alone shows that the fuel is not your responsibility. It's not Car Power's responsibility. It is government's responsibility.
When Car Power moves to the west, that is fine. It becomes government responsibility to provide gas to. No,
but even as it is in Tema now, government is providing the gas for it. And government thinks it's too expensive, and that is why we are moving it, so that it lessens the burden on government.
Well, talking about Car Power is only one out of the others.
Okay, hold on. But you admit that at least in Car Power's case, because you say you are representing Car Power as well. Car Power does not provide its own fuel.
Let me come in here. Car Power has reliably informed me that they pay for their fuel.
Car Power told you they pay for their fuel?
Yes.
So why is government so worked up about moving them close to the gas in Western region, if that's what has been happening? Because the government would have just left it here in the south.
When the resource is available for use, why won't government consider the option of moving it over there to cut down the cost of production? Because it's getting waste, the Car Power plant has to be moved there to make good use of the Western gas.
Have you seen any of the contracts with any of these IPPs that the chamber claims to represent?
I have access to few, some of them.
Okay. And you've read the part that has to do with fuel supply?
Yes.
And it says what? Okay. Hello, Mr. Abetabo.
Hello?
Yes, I'm asking you, and it says what exactly?
Hello?
I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, okay. Yes.
Are you listening to TV? Can turn the volume on your TV down?
No, I'm trying to link up with you on Skype.
Sorry, say again.
I'm trying to link up with you on Skype.
No, let's stay on the telephone.
Okay, that is fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm asking you said you've seen the contracts and you've read the portion that has to do with the supply of fuel. I'm asking you what does that say exactly? Can you hear me? Okay. So Ben.
No, this is shocking. I mean, we've been dealing with this contract, and this is a member of parliament sitting here. So he knows what the contract says. It's government's responsibility to supply fuel. In car power, GMPC is the off-taker. So GMPC supplies fuel through Litasco, for car power.
Yeah.
So they wait for the fuel, and government has to pay them for their capacity charges and maintenance.
I remember it was one of the biggest things that ACEP campaigned against in the contract. Now, why are you claiming
why is GMPC
taking that responsibility?
Exactly, and they had to securitize with $100 million even before they could actually bring.
And I must point out that
and even Asogli, where he is, I mean, it's VRA that offtakes the gas and gives you Asogli.
No,
to operate.
So here's the thing from this conversation with the chamber, and I must say this: there are huge doubts just from this interview about the legitimacy of the chamber in representing the claim to represent the IPPs. You must see that. You must see that there's a problem there. Because the contracts...
Let me come. There is a problem in terms of the fueling.
Yeah.
But in terms of the indebtedness, is it factual? It's yes.
But the indebtedness is the cause of the fuel.
No. Yes.
Yeah.
It could be.
But that's the thing.
That could be.
You seem at the beginning to trust the chamber's voice.
What I'm saying...
You applaud them. But I'm saying that from what we just heard, they don't know what they're talking about.
Please, they know.
What?
They know.
Really?
Yes. Please, let me come.
You said you
let
agree when it started.
Yes. In every person pursuing, this is the first time we've heard of them. Yeah. There might be some few things.
But it's a fundamental misunderstanding of the way the system works.
Yes. The fact of the matter is that do they owe the IPPs $300 million? Now that is between the three. Now
it's not.
No, but
there's no secret about
let me come. No, there's
no secret about
most people did not know about. No, most people did not know that within 3 months they haven't been paid. But in explaining that it is for fuel, yes, there is an issue there, because why GMPC got involved in car power by providing the $100 million security was because they wanted to take over the supply of fuel and guarantee fuel supply, and which MPP opposed. They went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court ruled for and against the MPP. And when they came back to power, they brought in Litasco and increased the guarantee to $179 million, not $100 million.
For car power?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
We approve it. And GMPC, to guarantee that $179 million, GMPC was to clear the debt owed to Litasco by bust, $100 million. And in 2017, GMPC had to pay $100 million to clear off that $100 million owed by bust. So we approve it, and they went ahead. Yeah. So that is how it happened. So in terms of fuel, the only PPA, that is the power purchasing agreement so far, that is taking responsibility for the supply of fuel. It's LA Power. LA Power, they are taking responsibility.
For their own fuel.
For their own fuel. And as a result, anytime they lack fuel, they cannot charge capacity charges.
Because you've
taken the responsibility for
with all of them, actually, in signing.
It depends on the timing.
Okay.
It depends.
What does the timing got to do with it?
When you need them at that critical time, you cannot just do whatever you want. Okay. But the time LA Power came, that was in 2016, already we have enough installed capacity.
LA Power was as an emergency plant.
No, but it came in 2016, that's what I'm saying. We already have enough available. So there was that room to negotiate very well.
Okay.
And I believe that even going forward, it should be competitive.
But here's a bigger question. there is a fundamental problem with the way we are financing the sector.
Yeah.
Right? So over the years, we've done many legislations trying to fix this. ESLA was the latest incarnation of that.
Yeah.
Before that, we have many levies that we pass laws to cover. So we will raise money from consumers on everything, so that we have enough money to knock off the debts. And then ESLA came recently also to reinforce that. My question as a layman is this. So all these laws, including ESLA, that takes money from taxes to say we are going to clear up the debt. We are collecting the money. Why are we still complaining that we don't have money to clear the debt and pay the IPPs for production when we're already taking all these taxes from me and you and everybody to do it? Where is the money going? Are we misusing it?
I think that is the fundamental question, and the way to address it is to have a systemic view about.
But first of all, address that question. Why can't we use the money for that purpose?
The money doesn't appear to be adequate.
Okay, so it's about adequacy.
Adequacy.
It's not about misuse.
You have an ESLA that is supposed to clear an outstanding debt.
Mr. Akilu can't wait to talk, I know.
Okay? To clear an outstanding debt. And you have not been able to stop accumulating debt.
Yeah.
You understand? So whilst you want to address an existing debt portfolio, you are still accumulating debt. You understand? So, I mean, we're told that currently, the excess capacity that we have to pay for is about $25 million every month.
Okay.
So
power you are not using. You're not selling to get money to.
Excess capacity.
Okay.
So by end of the year, when you have Amandi coming on and you have Send Power coming full stream, that shoots up to about $42 million a month.
Okay.
You know, for excess capacity that we need. So the debt accumulation is not stopping. You always have to get extra money to be able to address some of those challenges. That's why I keep saying that we need to have a real look at these situations and say, how do we deal with it? How do we stop the debt accumulation? You know, so that we can have the opportunity to address the existing debt with the ESLA. The ESLA alone will not be enough.
But here's another question that I found, and I've just been reading the finance. I'll come to you. This is the final question I'll come to. Yeah. Finance Minister's report to Parliament ending 2018 December on the use of the energy sector levies. Yeah. And I found there's a discrepancy in how much we raised and how much we've spent. I think it's about 600 million, if I'm not mistaken. So the finance minister says to Parliament that the collections amounted to 3.1 billion. And then in reporting to Parliament, he says that they used a total of 2.5 billion. Okay. And then he accounts for what the 2.5 was used for. But then if you collected 3.1 billion and you use 2.5, there's a difference. I
mean, it depends on what you use at 2.5. I don't have the report here.
No, it's here. I mean, my thing is, he breaks it down. Yeah. You add it, 2.5. It says, as required, the act, the total amount of 2.5 million was utilized out of the total levies collected. And he says, I collected 3.1 billion.
Yeah, utilized to do what?
Okay, then he breaks it down. So 1.3 billion transferred to ESLA PLC. Okay. Then 47.7 million for payment of power utility debts. Then 4.2 million for payment of LCs and LC charges. 245 million for payment of premix and RFO subsidy. Yeah. 685 million transferred to road fund for road maintenance. 13 million transferred to fund the activities of Energy Commission during the year. 116 million retained for EDCs. 82 million transferred to Ministry of Energy for public lighting. That's it. Accounting. That amounts to 2.5 billion. Yeah. My point is, there is a difference.
Yeah. So that
where is that difference?
I think that's where Parliament becomes relevant.
Is that an issue you can help us with?
Yes. I mean, when you are accounting for a year, for example, if you collect revenues for 2018 and you use X amount for 2018, the difference will have to reflect in the accounts of 2019. Okay. So if you use this, the 2.5, the excess will have to be accounted for in 2019. Okay. Because you would have reconciled the year to identify where you spend the money, and then the balance goes into.
Can you explain this? Because this came to Parliament. Is that what you have?
No, that's it.
That's it. That's what I'm reading.
Yeah, let me start from where.
But you can you start from here
and go back?
Yes, please. Yes. Because this is
now when this thing came, we realized that you could earn it but finally it will reflect in the accounts in the next year.
As you say.
Yes. So that discrepancy mostly come.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're expecting that in this
year it will be accounted for. Yes, yes. Okay. Now, when you spoke about energy sector debt.
Yes.
Yes, because of the accumulation of the debt from 1996, where we had these thermal plants coming on board, somewhere 98. There was the need to put an end to it, and that's why ESLA came in, bringing all the taxes under one envelope. And as at the end of 2015, we have $2.4 billion. And by the end of 2016, it reduced to $2.2 billion.
This is the debt, the legacy.
Yes, because $250 million of the $2.4 billion had been paid.
And Ado says it's cleared all the debts now.
It is left. No. It was expected that if that trend should continue with the power agencies as at the end of 2016, the performance, maintaining it over the period, we don't expect to accumulate more debt. For example, ECG in 2016 made a profit of 725 million Ghana cedis under President Mahama. Gridco, 69 million Ghana cedis. So if the ESLA, the introduction of the ESLA utilized in the manner it is expected, we expect these agencies to perform better. The more they are able to perform, the more they will be able to shoulder any facility they go in for. But that isn't the case over the period. Now, as of 2016, we got worse performance. ECG recorded debt, a loss of 2 billion, Ghana cedis.
Because?
I'm coming. Because it's not performing. Gridco, 180 million Ghana cedis loss. So you realize that even with the ESLA, the performance has gone from so terribly. Now, misuse is yes.
Explain.
If a government in 2017 ESLA could tell us that they used 600 million to pay for pension arrears, what is more of misuse than that? No, 2017.
Okay.
It's captured there.
Okay.
It's captured there.
Okay.
That ESLA is purposely for the energy sector. And therefore, you can't just, with it, the liability, you dip your hand, you pick it, you use it, and it is captured in the report live. So mismanagement is one. And the approach is also another way of defraying the debt. You go for a bond. You are supposed to ensure that you are able to save enough from the ESLA to be able to start paying the principal as and when due. So we need to monitor you. How much are you saving? The 7-year bond will start maturing in 5 years' time. The 10-year bond will start maturing in 7 years' time. And you'll be expected to pay almost 840 million Ghana cedis, the first tranche. Meanwhile, you are saving only 100 million Ghana cedis a year. In 5 years' time, that is 500 million Ghana cedis. So what makes the difference? So we are likely to go and borrow.
No, but if they transferred, I think they're here 1.6 billion to the PLC.
Yes.
And you're saying they're saving 100 million. What are they doing with it? The 1.5?
Interest. They've started paying the interest on that. Do you get my point? They've started paying interest. And that is what they are saving to make sure they defray when the principal is due. And that is a big worry for us Ghanaians. As compared to the previous arrangements, where Honorable Setekpe had agreed with the suppliers and renegotiated the interest. So as the ESLA, the levy comes, then he pays them off. And that is what he did in 2016 and was able to reduce it from $2.4 billion to 2.2. So the way we're going, this energy sector debt will hang on us for a very long time because President Nana Akufo-Addo is not implementing it as expected. 2, the rate of accumulation of debt is astronomical. If we can take from 1992 to 2015 to accumulate $2.4 billion debt, And from January 2017 to date, the energy debt accumulated is about 2 billion. Then there's cause for worry.
But is that what is causing it? I think the numbers will be thrown at you all the time.
Then let's look at the cause
about it. But I think we should look at what is causing it. And we do know that the excess capacity is the most significant.
Now let me explain the excess capacity.
So
government policy. Yeah, government.
Yes, and those are contracts that were signed.
Government policy has something to do with excess capacity.
Which government policy? Your government policy?
Yeah. President Mahama came with a policy of 100% coverage by 2020. That is the first one. With the experience we have with hydro, where it can drop from 1,000 to 300, 1,020 megawatts to 300, the gap is huge. You needed to make enough provision. And the motive was that by 2020, we have 100% access to electricity. 2020. So you look at the projection and you look at the additions you make over time. This government, and as a result, in 2015, access to electricity increased from 75% to 80.5%. And by 2016, it got to 83.24%. So projecting towards that. Nanado came and said, no, I want to change the policy. Universal access to electricity by 2030. And as a result, from 2016 to 2017, access to electricity only increased by 0.91%. In numeric, putting it in terms of communities, the government projected to connect 2,185 communities to the national grid.
So in simple terms, what you're saying is that your excess capacity was but you are projected that you will create the consumption.
The consumption. That is what I want to relate. So you project, and then as you increase access.
So you're saying that we have the excess now because the government has failed to create the consumption.
To create the consumption.
Is that as simple as that? I'll come to it. Let me hear.
I think that is too simplistic, Honorable. I mean,
it's not too simplistic.
Even if you got 100% coverage, there are other risk factors that you also have to talk about. Where is the 20%? If you look at Ghana's landscape, there are people who can actually pay for power. We have covered them. You understand? So you're talking about remote areas where it is difficult to reach. Transmission lines are expensive. So there is no way we would have been able to even cover 100% by now. So if we estimate to do 100% by 2020, we have excess today. How are you going to pay for it? I think that has to be addressed. So you don't, I mean, even if you, at 83%, we are doing about 2,200 megawatts. So 100%, an additional maybe 400 megawatts. But the excess is more than 1,000 megawatts.
Yeah. No.
And the point is making that even the difference of 20 cannot consume all of them cannot consume the excess.
You are not talking of the reserve margin that you must have. Calculate the reserve margin and take it out. You calculate. If you have 2,700, let's say 2,700 and maybe 20% reserve margin.
Even if you have 300 megawatt,
are you getting my point? That is about 500 to 600 megawatt you must have
of excess capacity.
So if it is about 1,000 megawatts and your reserve margin is 600 megawatts, you have 400 with rural electrification to take care of that.
But the point is that
for excess capacity, you will always have excess capacity.
You're talking about rural electrification.
You see,
the consumption levels there
are very low.
So I can explain,
and will not be up to the 1,000 plus, even with the reserve margin.
That is what I'm saying. That when you mention it, 1,000 megawatts, you must know that there must be a reserve margin.
We need to end here, but fundamentally, we are where we are today. And by the way, we've been trying to call back the chamber, and his phone has been off, and so we haven't managed to get him yet. But we're expected to have a press conference.
I think maybe briefly before.
Yes.
I think we have to really sit down as a country and address this energy because it's going to be recurrent. We'll be talking about it. We'll be blaming others, but the situation needs solutions now.
What solutions? How did we pass ESLA? We pass all these laws, and we are still where we are. I mean, what else can we do?
I think you have to buy the bullet. Okay. Some of the contractors have to go. We have to pay them.
I thought they announced, who announced this last year, that they're going to knock off a lot of them who are not producing anything.
I'm not sure they're gone. They're still around.
Okay, so that's what you
see. We should
rationalize the system.
Buy the bullet.
Okay.
Who can go bear the consequences? Because if you're going to pay $200 million today, it's better than waiting to pay $501 billion in 2-3 years.
Okay.
And those are the decisions that else we are not solving the debt.
So what you're saying, but there are contractual issues here. It's going to be
so
very dicey.
So you pay penalty.
Okay. So what you're saying is that government should be prepared to pay the penalty
unless
knock off some of those who are in the excess capacity guys in the system, and cut your losses.
You cut your losses.
You agree?
I don't think so.
What in 30 seconds? What
then
should
you must how you generate money to
what
pay
should in 30 seconds? We need to wrap up.
That is as a result of changing government policy.
So
a government that is ranting.
So your solution is that government should create the consumption.
No, yes. Okay. A government that is ranting one district, one factory.
Okay.
If they had rolled them out as planned,
okay. but that's
this excess capacity would have been consumed.
Okay, well that's Adam. That's Adam with Sawakiri there. But it's we may be laughing, but this is serious, and I'm unfortunate. Some of you may be watching us on your phones because you don't have power. Tomorrow we might get some clarity on this from the ECG and the utilities. Stay with us tomorrow because we'll bring you the updates then. My name is Evans Mins. Enjoy the rest of your day.